From the heart of Las Vegas, this is The Middle Ground, your destination for balanced conversations, real issues, and common sense solutions. Hosted by Tom Letizia, The Middle Ground starts now.
Good morning, Las Vegas. Happy Friday morning to you, wherever you may be. Whoops, I just dropped my clock. Russell, can you? Okay. Oh, there you go. Okay, good. Yeah. We have to have that clock in front of us here because they tell us when we got to get the hell out of here, and usually that's about 9 o'clock when we turn it over to Trey. Who is it?
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton.
And Buck Sexton, yeah. Right. They follow us at 9. Good morning. Here we are again on the Middle Ground Radio Show. Tom Letizia with you. Happy it's a Friday. TGIF Day. Should be nice and warm today. It should be about 106, which is just about right, as long as we don't get into the teens. With me in the studio and with Andy and Mark and Russell is Judge Heidi Almase. Good morning, Judge Almase.
Good morning, Tom. Thanks
Judge
for having
Almase, me. It's so nice to have you here. You've had such a wonderful career serving as a municipal court judge and now a family court judge. And your journey didn't start here in Las Vegas, though. It started in Scottsbluff, Nebraska.
That's correct.
Wow. And then all the way you went through UNLV, and then you went to the bench.
I did.
So interesting career, and you've done a lot. We're going to talk a little bit about the family court today, and a lot of our listeners are not familiar with family courts. They're not familiar with any of our courts. They don't know the difference in municipal, justice, family, the appellate court, the Supreme Court. They just don't understand a lot about courts until they have a matter where they end up in court. And the family court is one of the busiest courts in Nevada. You see more cases than almost any court. You've got 26 judges. You had 54,000 cases go through the family court in 2024. I mean, it's an amazing number. And I guarantee you this. I could ask 100 people, how many judges do they know? And I would imagine not many of them. Now, I'm not talking about the people that work in the legal community, the people that practice law, the people that appear in the courts. I'm talking about the average citizen, which represents, in Clark County, about 850,000 actual voters, people that actually vote. They would be lucky to mention or remember or know 2 names. That's it, out of all the judges that we have here in Nevada. So what we're doing is we're doing this judge series right now, trying to get people more informed about our courts. So you're here today. Thank you for being here. You're going to give us a little information on the family courts, a little bit about you. And I think it's important for our people to know that when you talk in terms of 54,000 cases, 18% of all non-traffic case dockets end up in the family court. It's huge.
It's enormous.
It's huge. And you know, you're going to be running again. This is, the 2026 election, which is going to be coming up before we know it. We're going to be filing in early January, and then after that, here we go. The race is on. So I hope people get a little bit more information, learn a little bit more about you, and we're going to hope to accomplish that in this time we have together. Russell Letizia, our executive producer, why don't you shoot out the first question, Russell?
Judge Almase, what motivated you to run for judge of Department X?
Well, I first ran for judge. I was a state police officer here in Nevada, and I worked at the Attorney General's office. So right now on the bench, Tara Clark Newberry and I are the only former law enforcement officers. She's an Ohio officer, and I'm a Nevada officer. Mm-hmm. And I worked at the Attorney General's office. And I loved working with lawyers. And Judge Ann Zimmerman encouraged me to go to law school. Uh-huh. So I did. And I was a prosecutor in Las Vegas Municipal Court, where I got my start, and decided I wanted to take advantage and run for judge and see if I could serve my community in a different capacity. And I loved it.
Yeah, and you've been a well-known name, you know, for for our judges. You served that time in the municipal court. Now the family court, you're finishing up your 5th year, and you're off and running for another term, which would start in the beginning of 2027 if elected in
Correct.
2026. So you mentioned about being in law enforcement. How has your background as a peace officer and mental health court pioneer shaped your judicial philosophy?
Well, I think when I was working in criminal and the drug court, mental health court, we always had this presumption that it started in the family. So when I transitioned out of municipal court into family court, I got that hands-on experience. So in family court, I mean, I've worked law enforcement and criminal court. We see everything. So I've seen more sexual assault in family court than I ever saw as a prosecutor or working on the criminal side of things. We see substance abuse. We see businesses. We see large asset cases, substance abuse, mental health. We see everything. So you're dealing with the whole family. And if you think about your own families, all the things that you see in your own families, all of that comes into the courtroom.
Yeah, it's probably the most difficult judicial position, in my opinion. Look at all of our courts are tough. I mean, you have the civil division where you deal with very complicated med-mal cases and, big cases like that, which represent millions and millions of dollars. Then you have the criminal division where you're dealing with, such crimes as murder, and that's tough to watch. But family is so heartbreaking. You have two parties that come in, a husband and wife. Sometimes they've been married for 20, 30 years, and they're splitting up. And then there's kids involved. Yeah. And that's the hard part. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I want to ask you, what are the core objectives of Department X?
So my core objective as an attorney, I liked being in front of judges that would teach you something. Mm-hmm. So even if, say, you made a mistake, they wouldn't, rip you up. Mm-hmm. They'd say, look, it could be like this. Mm-hmm. So my objective when I'm on the bench is to be patient, to listen, mm-hmm. and to hear from both sides. So even if you don't win, in quotes, you still feel like you got an opportunity to present your best argument.
Yeah.
So I feel very strongly about that and not being aggressive.
Yeah.
Just patient, calm, kind.
And I think that's the one thing that those that come before a judge want to see is someone that is compassionate, mm-hmm. that will listen to them. That's what they want. They want to be heard. Are you seeing any trends right now in family court in some of the caseloads since you took office 5 years ago?
Well, I've been in family court almost 8 years, 5 years as a judge. So what we're seeing is an exponential increase in the caseloads, even in the 8 years that I've been there. So in Clark County, we're at, I think, 2.8 million. So in the legislature, they look at judges to population base. They call it pop base. Mm-hmm. So I have on my docket 30,000 cases. So what people don't know about family court cases is they never close. Uh-huh. So you might get a final judgment, but then you can always come back and file for additional relief. So there's my caseload, and then there's my active caseload. But the part that people don't understand is those 30,000 cases can reopen at any time.
I never knew that. You have 30,000 cases in your docket. So how many active at one time?
So right now I have almost 600 active in active litigation. And that's for every single judge on the bench. They carry between 26 to 31,000 cases on their dockets.
It's just an amazing caseload. And the one thing that happened in this last legislative session is that they had an opportunity, the legislators had an opportunity to add more departments, and it never made it to the floor.
So in Nevada, your state trial court judges, so that's your big trial courts, mm-hmm. your general jurisdiction courts are across the entire state, mm-hmm. and we work for the state of Nevada. Mm-hmm. But our infrastructure, our clerks, our marshals, those are county mm-hmm. employees. Mm-hmm. So we have big population bases in Washoe and Clark County, And then we have all our rural partners. So when you're addressing state court assignments and state court judges, you have to take into account two very different sets of interests. Our rural judges who hear everything. We have one guy who's still a circuit rider between two counties, and it's 3 counties in a row, and he has the bookend counties.
Right.
And they need help.
Yeah.
We're getting crushed in the 8th Judicial District.
Yeah, yeah. And people don't realize that your work is not over with when you walk out of that courtroom. You have tons of work involved in preparing briefs, preparing yourself for the next case you need to hear, getting ready for trial. I mean, when you mention the amount of cases on your current active caseload, that requires a lot of work, a lot of concentration. And I was surprised that the legislature never heard this. We're going to have Steve Yeager, the Speaker of the Nevada Assembly, on. He's going to be here with us next week. I want to ask him about that because he comes from the legal field. He's sensitive to this issue, and I just can't understand why we never were able to bring it to the floor. And I know budget is a big concern.
Sure.
Costs a lot of money. When you bring in a new judge, you've got to bring in the marshals, the support staff, plus you got to find a place to put them. And that's a big problem. We don't have enough room. You're already out of room in your current. Now, do you work out of the RJC?
Correct.
So you're one of the ones that work out of the RJC, but then we have the family courthouse as well.
Correct.
And most of the judges, I would say, 4/5 of them, 80% of them work out of the family courthouse.
That's probably a fair number. There's quite a few of us at the RJC.
Right.
And then we have another site where our child support hearing masters, that's a third site. And the issue with Pecos is, my understanding is that campus could probably use a huge facelift, but it sits on some kind of, my understanding, if I'm wrong, forgive me, is that it sits on some kind of thing where it can't be higher than 3 stories. So it would be great if we could have a courthouse where it's all family court and all of our child support, but it's going to be a sprawling kind of thing if it's over at Pecos.
And, population's not going down, it's only going up, so your caseload is going to continue to grow. So I want to ask you something. You're a single parent.
I am.
And how did your experience as a single parent influence your perspective on family court matters?
I think, so we have some judges that are not parents. They're good judges.
Yeah.
I think everybody comes at it with their personal experience and they bring certain gifts to the table. I think being a single parent and having had a divorce case that was contentious gives me some empathy for the fact that people show up to my courtroom. Great people show up in my courtroom on their worst day.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've heard a lot of judges say that the day they walk into that family courthouse is the worst day of their life in many cases. And they have no idea anything how the court works or, what it's all about. They're very intimidated when they walk in there. And that brings me to this next question. There's a lot of pro se litigants who are individuals who represent themselves in court without the assistance of an attorney. And you have a lot of them, a large percentage.
65%.
65%. So it's the majority are unrepresented. What do you view as the top challenges facing pro se litigants?
So Legal Aid of Southern Nevada through Barbara Buckley has done a phenomenal job of creating the Family Law Self-Help Center. So you have all your forms. There's people there Monday through Friday to help people with the paperwork, not to give legal advice, but to help with the paperwork. And that has made it possible for pro se litigants to get into the court. And then this past year, the Nevada Supreme Court approved the informal family law trial program, which if both parties agree, they can just show up at court. So I always tell them you can show up with a smoking box of documents and your favorite pet goat. Everything comes in. There's no rules. You come, you tell me, the judge asks the questions.
Right.
And it's a program meant to get pro se litigants through the trial process quicker without kicking out their cases for procedural defects.
Right. Right. And these are people that are going through a divorce or a custody matter, support or protection orders, and they're bound by the same laws, same procedures, and same deadlines as attorneys.
If they're in a formal trial program, they are.
Right.
But the informal program seeks to remove those bars. So in a formal trial, for example, you can't talk about what other people said generally. But in an informal, you can.
Right, and these are people that generally can't afford an attorney.
Correct.
And you tell me that it's 65%.
Approximately.
That's a huge number. Can you and you mentioned about family self-help center.
Yes.
Can you describe the role and importance of the Family Law Self-Help Center?
So I think if we didn't have the Family Law Self-Help Center, pro se litigants wouldn't have. There would be just too many bars for them to get to court, and they need decisions and help too. Mm-hmm. So one of the things it made it very approachable. Mm-hmm. The documents that they put together are worksheets, so they're very not intimidating. You just fill them out, check the boxes, and come to court.
Yeah, but how do you ensure fairness for those without legal representation?
Well, that's our job as judges.
Right.
And I know there's been criticisms over the years about how pro se cases are managed. Mm-hmm. I've not seen the issues that I've heard, sort of whispers in the social universe. Mm-hmm. I think the judges do a very good job of making sure that everybody gets heard. What is different is I tend to spend more time with my pro se litigants because you have to explain more of the moving pieces to them.
Right.
Because if their motion gets denied because it doesn't, for example, fit the statute, you have to spend a little more time explaining why.
Right.
Whereas an attorney's like, yeah, okay, I got that.
Yeah. Yeah, it moves much quicker when you have two attorneys in the courtroom representing each side.
Depending on the attorneys.
Yeah, well, somebody like to drag it out a little bit more. What strategies does your court employ to support mental health issues? Because we've got, around 70% of the parents in custody proceedings report experiencing significant anxiety symptoms. Depression, you have roughly 50% of parents who are involved in custody disputes or depressive symptoms like persistent sadness, lack of interest, or sleep disturbances. How do you deal with this in your courtroom?
So civil court, domestic court is a little different. When I was in Muni and we had mental health court, you had a criminal case in order to be there. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of the carrot and stick model, right? And you have resources and stakeholders who come in and they provide clinical services. We don't have any of that in family court. Mm-hmm. So in other states, for example, Texas, I believe is one of them, if you come into family court and you have a divorce with children or custody matter with children, you can get a guardian ad litem appointed to your case. Mm-hmm. And generally speaking, they represent the best interests of the child, not the parties. And they come to the court to be of assistance. We don't have anything, and we're not allowed to direct people to certain services. So I can make an order, for example, parents are in dispute, their child's having mental health issues. I can make an order that, yes, the child has to go to therapy, but I can't select the therapist. Mm-hmm. That's improper.
Right.
That's kind of the limit of what I can do. And there are some attorneys that question even our ability to do that.
Right. So, there's a lot of extra hurdles when you're dealing with the mental health issues that come into your court.
No resources.
You got procedural issues. You got emotional issues. Yes. And thank goodness that we have these mental health support services. But, you say you don't see as much of it in your court?
I see all of it. It's incredible. The parents with mental health issues, it's really heartbreaking when you see children that have, especially if they have significant challenges. I have a lot of cases where children are on the autism spectrum. Judge Bailey's been really phenomenal. She's on my bench with assisting because she runs our autism court. In terms of if we have questions, we can always go to her about items that are being brought to us in the regular domestic arena, and parents are disputing over services or quality of services. So that's a really helpful resource.
Yeah, you're talking about Judge Sunny Bailey,
Correct.
Who has the only autism
in the
court.
entire state.
And one of the few in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's like an innovator when it comes to this.
And she travels and teaches.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. I've had Sunny Bailey on the show, Judge Sunny Bailey. We're going to have her on again. She's just a wonderful judge. Are you seeing more? Since you started, you've been on the family court bench as a judge 5 years. Are you seeing more mental health issues than you did when you first started?
Yes, especially post-COVID. A lot of suicides.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adults and children and young adults.
It's got to be tough.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think a lot of people feel like something shifted, but we can't quite put our finger on it. Mm-hmm. But it does seem to have whatever it was, it seems to have ratcheted up.
Yeah, and we hear that a lot.
Or made it more out in the open. I don't know.
Right, and we hear it a lot. I mean, we see it with our homeless population, you know, the law enforcement folks and the people, the first responders. They tell me that most of the cases that they go out on are mental health issues.
Right.
And it's just growing so rapidly in our community. I always say that, you know, when they talk about homeless, and we're getting off our subject of family law, but when we talk about the homeless problem, everybody says, well, we need to build this center, we need to build that center, we need to move them here, we need to move them here. That's a geography issue. The real issue is the mental health, and we need to build facilities to treat the core of the problem before deciding where we're going to put everybody. And that's where we're lacking right now. Okay, so I want to move along with you, and thank you for being here in the studio today. You're giving us a lot of good information about our family court, and I want to do what we call a rapid fire lightning round. Okay, and this is where I ask you quick questions, and they're easy ones.
Okay.
But but you know, it's a lightning round, so it's a quick fire. Okay,
got it.
All right, coffee or tea?
Coffee all day long.
Oh, all day long. Yeah, you need it some days, don't you? Best advice you ever received?
Oh, I think it might have been from Judge Philip Pro. He said the best advice for lawyers and people is on a mayonnaise bottle. Keep cool, don't freeze.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was a big federal court judge, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Great advice.
Yeah.
A book you always recommend?
Book I always recommend. Oh, dear. I like so many books. I like anything from Toni Morrison. She wrote Beloved.
Okay.
I think she's lyrical.
Okay. Favorite thing about Las Vegas?
Oh, the heat.
The heat?
Hands down.
Oh, my goodness.
Hands
you must
down.
be in your glory right now.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the teens.
Well, you don't like that cold weather coming from Nebraska, right?
No snow.
Yeah, well, it's different. There's no doubt about it. How do you unwind?
Coffee.
More coffee.
More coffee. Some yoga. I do hot yoga.
Okay. Because, I mean, after a day in the family court, you need to, at the end of the day, you need to unwind. So you do yoga.
Yeah, I do. I do hot yoga.
Good for you. Good for you. Morning person?
Yes.
Last show you binged?
Last show I binged. I'm watching Bosch right now. I'm binging Bosch. Mm-hmm. It was so good I forgot what it was. Downton Abbey. I do like Downton Abbey.
Okay.
Watched that a few times.
Okay. One word to describe Department X.
Oh, we're the pirates of the family court. Somebody gifted us some pirates, and we're the Jolly Pirates.
Okay.
We're a little different, but we're fun.
Okay. Any pet?
Dogs.
You like dogs?
I'm a dog person, but right now we have cats.
Okay. Well, so you got dogs and cats or just cats?
Just cats right now.
Okay.
My son and my daughter.
See, these are important things that people need to know about our judges, you know.
I agree.
And if you like dogs, you're going to probably get a lot of votes. I can tell you that right
I hope
now.
so.
Everybody loves dogs.
Well, I'm a big fan of rescuing. All of our pets are rescues, and we like to give homes. So my fantasy life is I rescue senior dogs and give them their...
Judge Almase, thank you for being here at the studio with us again.
Thanks for having me.
And telling our listeners a little bit more about family courts and getting to know you a little bit better. Our guest, Judge Heidi Almase, stay with us here on the Middle Ground Radio Show. We're going to be back. We have another family court judge coming on. Her name is Kerri Maxey, Judge Kerri Maxey. She's with us in the studio. She's next. Stay with us here on 670 AM KMZQ.
The Vegas Sports Report is brought to you by
UNLV. Tickets! We get you there.
The Las Vegas Aces just can't seem to maintain any momentum so far this season. One night after establishing a 2-game win streak for the first time this month, they fell to the Washington Mystics 94-83 last night at Michelob Ultra Arena. It's the fourth time this season their record has fallen below the 500 mark. They're now 7-8 and have their next 5 games on the road starting Sunday in Phoenix. A lot of offense at Las Vegas Ballpark last night as the the Aviators and Isotopes combined for 7 home runs and 25 runs. It was Las Vegas who came away with the 14-11 victory. Mr. October will be making an appearance in July. Hall of Famer Reggie Jackson will throw out the first pitch at the Battle for Vegas charity softball game. The Battle for Vegas, set for July 12th at Las Vegas Ballpark, pits Jack Eichel's Golden Knights against Brock Bowers' Las Vegas Raiders softball teams.
The Vegas Sports Report is brought to you by
UNLV.
Tickets.
We get you there.
From a village in Tonga to the courtroom in Las Vegas, attorney Michael Samft has tried over 150 jury trials, more than most lawyers will in a lifetime. Contact attorney Michael Samft. Attorney Samft holds big companies accountable when their products harm real people. He's your advocate, your fighter, your trial attorney. Call 702-720-3030 or visit safetyovershares.com. That's 702-720-3030 or safetyovershares.com. Michael Samft. Justice starts here.
Ready to transform your body, boost your energy, and feel your best? Welcome to OC Body Fit at Tivoli Village. We offer personalized training for all ages and fitness levels, perfect for beginners, injury recovery, or pushing toward your next big goal. Our expert trainers focus on you with customized plans and proper techniques. Enjoy small group classes that bring the motivation of a community with the personal attention you need. Don't wait. Start your journey to a stronger, healthier you today. Call or text 702-978-8263 to book your free consultation now. OC Body Fit, your ultimate fitness destination.
A jury has spoken. Deborah Fenton slipped and fell, and the Cosmopolitan was found negligent. Thanks to Patrick Kang and Ace Law Group, justice was delivered. If you've been hurt by someone else's negligence, don't face it alone. Call Ace Law Group. We don't back down. We win. We win big, like $15 million big. Call 702-357-9729. Ace Law Group.
Hello, I'm Marla Letizia, founder of the Long Life Era community. If you are age 50 and over, you are entering what we call your Long Life Era. The next 50 years of your life could be the happiest years as you start up the U-curve of happiness. The Long Life Mindset is a shift in how you see the world and yourself.
Start your journey today. Embrace the mindset. Go to longlifemindset.com. Navigating government and election law is complex. Bravo Schrager LLP, led by Bradley Schrager and Daniel Bravo, provides expert legal counsel businesses, PACs, nonprofits, and more. From compliance and rulemaking to ballot measures, we guide you through the legal landscape of politics. Visit BravoSchrager.com or call 702-996-1724. Bravo Schrager LLP. Visit BravoSchrager.com or call 702-996-1724. Democracy is our law practice.
By July of 2025, nearly all Nevada employers will be required to offer a retirement plan to all employees. As a business, how do you even start? Just call the Vegas Chamber to get plugged into the Chamber's 401k plan. It's simple to administer, provides great options, and will quickly help your business meet Nevada's new retirement plan mandate. Visit VegasChamber.com to get plugged in.
Sponsored by the Vegas Chamber in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
We're back with you here on the Middle Ground Radio Show with Tom Letizia, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. Today we're continuing our judge series, and we're focused on our family courts today. And our family division started in 1993 here in Clark County, Nevada, and it has a caseload of 54,000 filings in 2024, which is just amazing. 54,000. We've got 26 judges that sit in our family court. 18% of the non-traffic docket is in our family court. And with us right now is Judge Kerri Maxey. She's here in the studio with us. She's our newly elected judge in Department N in the 8th Judicial District's Family Division. She took office in January of this year, so she's been on the bench now for a little over 5 months, about 6 months now, actually. And she brings a wealth of experience, especially as a former chief deputy public defender in the juvenile division. Today, we're going to explore Judge Kerri Maxey's journey, her judicial philosophy, and insights into the family court system here in Clark County. Judge Maxey, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tom.
It's so nice to have you here in the studio, and you've been such a big part of our family courts for so many years now, the 18 years you spent representing juveniles as a public defender, and you worked in the minor guardianship advocacy area, and now you're a judge on the bench, and it's a whole different perspective now being a judge. I thought we'd kick things off with a question from Russell Letizia, our executive producer. Russell?
Yeah, Judge Maxey, what inspired you to pursue law with a focus on juvenile advocacy?
I went to law school, honestly, because I didn't want to quit school. I got a degree in economics, and I wanted to continue studying economics, but during that time, UNLV didn't have a master's program in economics, and my teacher told me I had to move to California. But the Valley is my home. Las Vegas was my home, and I didn't want to move. So he told me apply for the law school, and I did, and I got in. And then I did the juvenile justice clinic, and that is where I fell in love with law, and I fell in love with juvenile law, and that gave me the passion and purpose to dedicate my career to juvenile law.
And you impressed voters in your last election, which was your first election. You ran last year. You beat an incumbent judge. You came in late. You jumped in and filed at the very last day of filing, and you were able to win. And now you're making a big difference. You're involved in the minor guardianship advocacy program. The Minor Guardianship Advocacy Program, also known as MGAP, is now a part of the Children's Attorneys Project at the Legal Aid Center of Southern Nevada. Can you tell us a little bit about your time with the Minor Guardianship Advocacy Program?
When Legal Aid of Southern Nevada hired me, they hired me as one of the founding attorneys to create that program. During guardianship, the adults always got an attorney, counsel, but the children didn't have one. And so Barbara Buckley decided that it was time for the children to have counsel when they're going through guardianship to protect their voice and their constitutional rights and due process. So when I got hired, I was hired to bring my perspective of representing juveniles in delinquency, and just we created how we represented the children, because there was a choice. We could represent the children as their best interests, or we could be their advocate and advocate for their voice. And we decided it was better to make sure that child had a voice, because it's the judge that determines the best interest, but it's so important for that child to have a voice and somebody to say, this is what this child is feeling, thinking, and this is what this child wants. So that's how we created the our way of representing children in we say MGAP, in the MGAP program. At first, it was under the adult guardianship program, but adult guardianship and minor guardianship are so completely different. It didn't make sense. So we moved the program under CAP and created, because it made more sense that way. Plus, when there was the hidden foster care system that we found going on, it made more sense to have MGAP underneath the Children Advocate program too.
Great program. And, the MGAP program ensures that minors facing guardianship proceedings in Clark County are represented by an advocate who champions their perspective, protects their procedural rights, and helps navigate the complex legal terrain. Excellent program representing vulnerable youth, especially those in foster care with disabilities or in guardianship. And you've mastered in that program, and I compliment you for that. What prompted your transition from public defense to the bench?
After representing kids in at the public defenders, from public defenders to the bench, mm-hmm. I had represented children that got arrested, children whose parents abused and neglected them, children whose family members stole their estate. And by being their advocate and protecting their voice, I felt it was important for a person on the bench that understands what these children are going through when they go through the court system. When you're on the bench for family law, it's about the family, and there's children involved. And a lot of times when I was in the courtroom, I realized that the judges were so wrapped up with the adults and what the adults were saying, they were forgetting about that child and what that child needed and wanted. So I decided to run because I felt like it was time to have somebody on the bench that concentrated on the child and made sure that that child's voice was heard.
So how has your juvenile advocacy background helped you as a judge today?
It helps me because I understand the consequences or the effects of domestic violence on children. And when children are exposed to domestic violence, it can create a vicious cycle where that child believes that that's the only way to react in a situation. Also, domestic violence when the child is in utero, that changes the chemistry of the child when growing inside the mother, that it can affect how that child's brain development will be after birth. Also, when substance exposure to children in utero, that can affect the child too. With all this knowledge that I have with the development of children and how the environment can affect that development, I've been able to use that to protect children in when there's a family in crisis.
Right, and there's a lot of trauma that comes from all of this. In the context of family court, trauma-informed practices help judges, attorneys, and court staff handle cases involving children and families in a way that avoids re-traumatization and support healing. So what role does trauma-informed practice play in your courtroom?
It's an important role. It's a major role. It's a role that I use in my decision-making. Mm-hmm. I try to lessen that trauma. It's difficult, but I try to do that with my decisions. I try to protect the children, and I also try to protect the parents' rights too. And a lot of times everybody is so upset and they have so many hurt feelings. I have to let them know that you got to put your hurt feelings aside, and we got to focus on these children and what we can do to make sure that when they grow up, they become a positive and productive citizen for our community.
Yeah, but there's so many factors that you need to understand how to navigate. You got the safety factor. You've got to build the trustworthiness and transparency, the peer support, the collaboration, and mutuality. Judges and attorneys and clients work together with shared power and responsibility. There's so many factors that come into play, and your ability to navigate this complex area has given you a big edge in your courtroom.
Yes. With my ability I have the ability to bring people together. I don't divide people, and I try not to. I do my best to make sure that the litigants in front of me, yes, they're not agreeing, but there's got to be a common ground, and I find that common ground. And by finding the common ground, it always works out for the best. You can create a fair and just decision. You also have to reach out to any kind of stakeholders and make sure that they have the input of telling me where their issues are with the community. It's all about teamwork, and I do my best to make sure that we work together for the best interest of the children and for families that are in crisis.
We're talking to Judge Kerri Maxey. She is a family court judge. She applies trauma-informed principles in her courtroom to better understand behaviors of children, survivors of abuse, or struggling parents. She's with us today in the studio. We're talking to her live, and we're going to get right back with more with our Judge Kerri Maxey. She's here with us today on The Middle Ground. Stay with us.
Yes, I'm stuck in the middle with you.
A jury has spoken. Deborah Fenton slipped and fell, and the Cosmopolitan was found negligent. Thanks to Patrick Kang and Ace Law Group, justice was delivered. If you've been hurt by someone else's negligence, don't face it alone. Call Ace Law Group. We don't back down. We win. We win big, like $15 million big. Call 702-357-9729. Ace Law Group.
Hello, I'm Marla Letizia, founder of the Long Life Era community. If you are age 50 and over, you are entering what we call your long life era. The next 50 years of your life could be the happiest years as you start up the U-curve of happiness. The long life mindset is a shift in how you see the world and yourself.
Start your journey today. Embrace the mindset. Go to longlifemindset.com. From a village in Tonga to the courtroom in Las Vegas, attorney Michael Samft has tried over 150 jury trials, more than most lawyers will in a lifetime. Contact attorney Michael Samft. Attorney Samft holds big companies accountable when their products harm real people. He's your advocate, your fighter, your trial attorney. Call 702-720-3030 or visit safetyovershares.com. That's 702-720-3030 or safetyovershares.com. Michael Samft. Justice starts here.
Ready to transform your body, boost your energy, and feel your best? Welcome to OC Body Fit at Tivoli Village. We offer personalized training for all ages and fitness levels, perfect for beginners, injury recovery, or pushing toward your next big goal. Our expert trainers focus on you with customized plans and proper techniques. Enjoy small group classes that bring the motivation of a community with the personal attention you need. Don't wait. Start your journey to a stronger, healthier you today. Call or text 702-978-8263 to book your free consultation now. OC Body Fit, your ultimate fitness destination.
Bravo Schrager LLP provides trusted legal counsel for nonprofits, offering expertise in compliance, political activity, litigation, and more. From formation to fulfilling your mission, we've got you covered. Contact Bravo Schrager LLP at 702-996-1724. That's 702-996-1724, or visit us online at bravoschrager.com. That's bravoschrager.com. Bravo Schrager LLP, your partner in nonprofit law.
Fedora the Explorer 32 wrote online, getting to the Valley Auto Mall is so easy via freeway. Who thought my new truck was this #close? Click or visit the Valley Auto Mall today.
KMCQ On-Time Traffic. It's powered by Meineke Car Care Centers. Right now, you can get an oil change for only $34.95. Meineke, doing car care right.
Reports of just one accident is going to be found on the southeast beltway, westbound side of 215 before Eastern. As we check our traffic cameras, not seeing too much backup to go with that. It's probably likely out of the travel lanes, but keep an eye if you're going through the area. Westbound 215 before Eastern. Also on the other side, southwest beltway, just off the beltway, actually, as you leave 215 westbound, the Jones off-ramp still being cleared of that earlier injury accident. Not sure what's going on at the intersection of Harmon and Cameron, but the second accident of the day, hours apart, now being reported at Cameron and Harmon. Triple digits all weekend long. Will start at 104 degrees as a high today and gets warmer by the day. By Sunday, it could be up to 106. It's 84 degrees right now. I'm Mark Thomas with your on-time traffic, brought to you by Meineke Car Care Centers on AM 670 KMZQ.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
We're back with you here on the Middle Ground Radio Show. We're continuing our judge series today, and today we're focused on our family courts. And with us in the studio is Judge Kerri Maxey. She just won her election last year. She's going to be running again in 2026. She ran in a special election, and she's here with us right now. Judge Maxey, one of the things that we're seeing a lot of right now is non-English speaking litigants in our Clark County Family Court. And about 33% of county residents speak languages other than English, with 40% of those having limited English language proficiency. How is the court improving access for non-English speaking families?
I have certain forms that I have to file. One of the forms is like a trial memorandum order, and it was always in English. So I have taken that form and translated it into Spanish as well, so that when I have a Spanish-speaking family in front of me, I'm not giving them a trial memorandum order that's in English. It's also in Spanish. I've also went through a lot of my other orders that are in English that I hand out pretty much daily and translated them into Spanish too. I don't think it's fair or appropriate to give a Spanish-speaking family an English written order.
Mm-hmm.
So I've translated my orders. I've also found out that when a Spanish-speaking family comes into the courtroom, they have to provide their own interpreter. The Clark County Interpreter's Office will not interpret for a family unless there's a fee waiver that's been filed. So if a fee waiver hasn't been filed, I will have that litigant fill out that fee waiver, and then we'll file it on open bench, and then I can get an interpreter to come in. If they don't have that fee waiver, then that family, that litigant, has to provide their own interpreter and pay for their own interpreter, which is very costly because the majority of the litigants that come in front of me, they're representing themselves. They can't afford an attorney. How are they going to be able to afford their own interpreter?
Yeah, so this is a problem, isn't it?
It's a big problem.
Yeah, and, there's a lot of issues right now that evolve in our family courts that become issues, and we don't talk about these things. Nobody talks about them. You don't read about this in the newspaper. You don't see it on television. You don't hear it on any radio shows, but we're dealing with a severe backlog right now. One of the biggest problems, and you even told me before the show, it's amazing how much activity takes place in our family court. And how are you dealing? What are the most common delays in Clark County family court cases?
I think one of the biggest delay is lack of service. A litigant will file a petition, a motion, and not understand the pro se that they have to serve the other party. And I will bring that person in and explain to them how they need to do the service, give them the tools, the forms that they need, and so that they can come back and have their day in the courtroom, but then the other person will be able to have a say in the courtroom too. I want to make sure due process is protected, and I think it's the lack of service that the lack of knowledge to serve the other party, I should say, is the biggest delay because you can't go forward. And I don't want to just dismiss the case on a procedural issue because of service, because if this person wants to come in front of me, they have an issue, they need help, and to be able to help them, all parties need to be aware of the court. I'm not going to issue a default order because lack of service, or I'm not going to dismiss the case due to lack of service.
Right. So how can the system be streamlined to reduce wait times?
That's a good question, and all I can say is that I don't continue cases. I try my best to handle the case right then and there. I want to make sure that they have their day in court, and I make a decision. I've noticed that some cases or some judges don't decide, and they just continue the case out and over and over and over, which I don't think is fair to the litigants. They want a decision. They need that help. So not allowing continuances and getting in there and giving resolution is one way to streamline the cases.
Yeah, because, these things can go on for years sometimes, and that costs the litigants more money. You've got attorneys involved. It just goes on and on and on, and it continues to increase the backlog. Are there any plans to increase judicial staffing in the family division?
I'm not aware of any plans.
Would that be helpful if they did?
That would be very helpful. I know there was a bill asking for more judges, which was not passed.
Right.
But more, we have a shortage of marshals. Where we're allowing people who have retired from the county to come back and be a marshal, just so that we have enough marshals. I also think a possibility would be getting 2 law clerks. I think that would help with the caseload of the judges. I understand getting more judges is more expensive for the county, but maybe if we got 2 law clerks for each judge, it would allow the judges to handle the heavy caseload that we have, and we wouldn't have such a backlog. We wouldn't have cases that have been waiting for findings of facts and conclusions of law for over 6 months. I mean, you have so many trials, but then you have to do the orders, but you don't have the time to do the orders. So if you had more staff helping you, that would help.
Nothing's going to happen for another 2 years until we go to another legislative session. It never made it to the floor in this session. As I said earlier in the show today, we're going to have Speaker Steve Yeager on the show next week, and I want to talk a little bit about that because our population is going to continue to grow, so this backlog is not going to get any better. Okay, so I want to move along, and I want to do our little lightning round right now. This is a quick-fire questions with short answers, okay? So here we go. Ready? Your favorite legal thriller movie?
Oh, my gosh. What is that one where you can't handle the truth?
Oh my goodness! Which one is it?
A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men.
Always leave it to Russell. I love that movie. That's one of my favorite movies. Jack Nicholson.
Yes.
Yeah, and who else was in that? Russell. Jack Nicholson was the
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, and who's that good-looking gal in there? Demi Moore.
Was Kevin Bacon in it too?
Kevin Bacon too. That was I love that movie. Go to courtroom preparation strategy.
I do my own briefs. I brief my own calendar. So I've read everything. That's what it is. I brief my own calendar.
Yeah, but I mean, do you go into like a mindset when you're preparing? I mean, sometimes people like music on in the background, or you got to concentrate. So you got to go into a quiet place when you're reviewing those briefs. Briefs are complicated, and you got to really focus. Is there any kind of approach you take to prepare, or you just go in and do it?
I just go in and do it. Rock and roll. Let's do it.
You're smart though. You're an attorney. You passed the bar. You won a judge race, so you're smarter than I am. I got to go into a special place and get my mind in a certain place before I do creative work like that. One book every lawyer should read.
I have no idea. One book every lawyer should read.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, that is a tough one. Tom, when I read, I don't read legal stuff. I read fiction. My reading is my way to escape.
Yeah.
And so I read fantasy.
I don't blame you. We need that. We need to escape from time to time.
So I would say The Wheel of Time. That's not one book. That's a big series of books, but it's a good fantasy, a good...
Okay. All right.
Escape.
That's it. I'll take that. Most underrated quality in a family court judge?
Kindness.
Yeah. Boy, it sure matters. Doesn't it go a long way?
Mm-hmm.
One habit you'd like to instill in newer attorneys?
Know your audience. A lot of attorneys think if they object, that makes them a good attorney, but it doesn't. It just takes away from what you need to present. So kindness, and don't do so many objections. Make sure your objections have worthiness to it, because if you object, it gets to the point, anytime you object, it's just going to be like...
And be prepared, right?
And be prepared,
Yeah,
yes.
come into a courtroom and be prepared. Okay, Judge Kerri Maxey, thank you so much. Your leadership and commitment for children, families, means so much to our system, and thank you for coming to the studio and being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
That's it for today, everyone. Have yourself a great weekend. We'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.